There is a gift the universe has been trying to place in your hands for years, and you have been turning away from it without knowing. Not because you are unworthy, but because you were taught that receiving requires a shape you do not yet possess. You stand before the door of abundance with your palms open, yet your soul whispers that you must earn what has already been offered. And so the gift waits, patient as the mountains, while you search for keys you do not need. Let me speak of something you have always known, but were taught to forget in order to survive. There was a moment in your early life when you learned that prosperity was not yours by nature. Perhaps you saw your mother's shoulders bend beneath the weight of lack. Perhaps you heard your father speak of money as though it were a distant god, cruel and selective in its blessings. Perhaps you yourself reached for something beautiful and felt the sting of being told it was not for people like you. And in that moment, a small door closed inside you. Not loudly, not with drama, but with the quiet finality of a seed deciding it is safer to remain beneath the soil than to break toward the light. You carry this closure still. It lives in the way you hesitate before stating your price. It lives in the way you apologize for wanting more. It lives in the space between your dreams and your actions, a space filled with the voices of every ancestor who survived by making themselves small. They taught you well, these voices. They taught you that desire is dangerous, that visibility invites harm, that wealth belongs to others who were born beneath different stars. And you learned. You learned so well that you no longer notice when you step aside to let opportunity pass. You have become so skilled at rejection that you call it humility, wisdom, realism. But the universe does not honor your smallness. It does not reward your capacity to endure without asking. It does not see your suffering as evidence of your goodness. The universe is not a parent testing your patience, nor a teacher grading your worthiness. It is a river flowing toward the ocean, and you are standing on the bank, convinced that to step in would be to drown. You were not born to stand on the bank. You were born as the river itself. But somewhere along the way, you learned to fear your own current. You learned to mistake the movement of abundance for greed. You learned to call the natural expansion of your soul by names that made you ashamed. Ambition became arrogance. Desire became selfishness. The simple act of receiving became a moral failure. And so you closed your hands, just as the universe was filling them. Do you see it now? The way you have been trained to refuse what is already yours? It is not the universe that withholds. It is you who has built walls so high you no longer remember building them. It is you who has learned the language of lack so fluently that abundance sounds like a foreign tongue. It is you who looks at the feast and sees only the famine you were taught to expect. This is not your fault. You did not choose the lessons that shaped your relationship with prosperity. You did not ask to inherit the scarcity your lineage carried. You did not decide one day to become allergic to your own expansion. These patterns were woven into you by hands you never saw, in moments you cannot recall, through words that seemed like love, but were actually fear dressed in protective clothing. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still capable of noticing that something feels wrong in the way you move through the world. There is a part of you that knows you were meant for more than survival. There is a whisper beneath the noise that says you are allowed to flourish. There is an ancient memory in your bones that remembers what it felt like to receive without guilt, to expand without apology, to claim space in the world as naturally as a tree claims the soil. But knowing is not enough. Wanting is not enough. Even understanding the roots of your rejection does not automatically open your hands, because the pattern runs deeper than thought. It lives in your body. It lives in the way you breathe when opportunity approaches. It lives in the subtle ways you sabotage yourself before the universe even has a chance to deliver. You ask for abundance and then fill your schedule so completely there is no room to receive it. You pray for prosperity and then surround yourself with people who cannot imagine it. You claim you are ready for more and then repeat the same behaviors that kept you small. The universe is not confused by this. It does not judge you for your contradictions. It simply waits. It waits for the moment when your actions align with your prayers. It waits for the moment when you stop performing worthiness and start embodying it. It waits for the moment when you realize that prosperity is not something you earn through suffering, but something you allow through surrender. Surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of resistance. Not the surrender that gives up, but the surrender that gives in, the surrender that says, I am tired of fighting against my own good, the surrender that says, I am ready to stop proving I deserve what the universe has already deemed mine, the surrender that finally, quietly, without fanfare, opens the clenched fist and lets the gift arrive. But what is this gift, truly? Is it money? Is it success? Is it the tangible symbols of prosperity you have been taught to chase? Perhaps, but only as the skin of a deeper fruit. The true gift is permission. Permission to stop apologizing for taking up space. Permission to stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Permission to stop translating your worth into a language of lack. Permission to believe that your expansion does not require someone else's contraction. You have been living as though there is only so much good to go around, as though your joy might steal from another's portion, as though your success requires someone else to fail. This is the arithmetic of fear, not the mathematics of the universe. The universe does not operate on the principle of scarcity. It operates on the principle of overflow. The river does not wonder if there is enough water. The tree does not ask permission before reaching toward the sun. The flower does not apologize for blooming in a garden where others have not yet opened. And yet you apologize. You hesitate. You make yourself smaller in rooms that should celebrate your arrival. You undercharge for your gifts because somewhere inside you believe that your value should not be spoken aloud. You work twice as hard for half the recognition because you were taught that visibility is dangerous for people like you. You reject compliments, deflect praise, and attribute your success to luck rather than skill, because acknowledging your power feels like a betrayal of the humility you were told was holy. But humility was never meant to be self-erasure. Humility is knowing you are part of the whole, not that you are less than the whole. Humility is understanding that your gifts came through you, not that they do not belong to you. Humility is recognizing that you are both the vessel and the ocean, both the channel and the source, both the student and the master of your own becoming. You are not broken. You are remembering what it felt like before the world taught you to be small. Remembering the version of yourself that reached for what it wanted without first calculating the cost of wanting. Remembering the child who believed in magic before adults explained why magic was not for children like you. That child is still inside you, buried beneath layers of survival strategies and protective armor and learned helplessness. That child still knows how to receive. That child still believes the universe is generous. That child has not forgotten that prosperity is a birthright, not a prize. And that child is stirring now, waking from a long sleep, stretching toward the light you have been too afraid to let in. What you call emptiness is space, learning to breathe. The hollow feeling you carry is not evidence that you are lacking. It is evidence that you have made room for something new. The ache is not absence. It is appetite. The longing is not proof of your brokenness. It is proof that you still remember there is more. You still remember that you were meant for expansion, for overflow, for the kind of abundance that spills into the lives of everyone you touch. But you cannot receive this abundance while you are still clenching. You cannot welcome prosperity while you are still guarding against its arrival. You cannot open to the new while you are still clutching the old story of who you had to be in order to survive. The universe cannot fill hands that are already full of fear. So what must you release? Not your dreams, not your desires, not your right to claim what is yours. You must release the belief that you are separate from the source. You must release the story that says you are not enough as you are. You must release the habit of translating every opportunity into a test of your worthiness. You must release the voice that says you do not deserve to receive until you have suffered more, worked harder, proved yourself beyond all doubt. You do not need to prove yourself. You need to recognize yourself. The universe already knows who you are. It knew before you were born. It knew when it shaped your particular constellation of gifts. It knew when it planted desires in your heart that only you could fulfill. It knew when it set you on this path that would eventually lead you back to your own power. The only one who does not yet know is you. And even now, as these words land in the soil of your awareness, there is a part of you resisting, a part of you that says this sounds too simple, too easy, too good to be true. A part of you that wants to believe but cannot yet trust. A part of you that has been hurt too many times by hope to risk it again. I honor that part. I see it. I know it has kept you safe when safety was all you had. But safety and prosperity are not the same. Safety keeps you alive. Prosperity lets you live. You did not come here to merely survive. You came here to create, to express, to manifest the particular frequency of abundance that only you can channel into the world. You came here to be the proof that expansion is possible, that transformation is real, that people who were taught they were nothing can become everything they were meant to be. You came here to break the pattern, to heal the wound, to show your lineage and your children and yourself that a different way is possible. But this requires something from you. It requires that you stop waiting for permission from the same voices that taught you to be small. It requires that you stop looking for validation from systems designed to keep you in lack. It requires that you trust the stirring in your soul more than the fear in your mind. It requires that you take one step toward what you want before you feel ready, before you feel worthy, before you have all the answers. The universe does not need you to have all the answers. It needs you to take the first step. Just one step, one moment of choosing expansion over contraction, one moment of saying yes when your pattern wants to say no, one moment of reaching for what you want instead of waiting for it to prove it wants you back, one moment of acting as if you already are who you are becoming. And in that moment, something shifts, not loudly, not with fanfare, but with the quiet certainty of a seed finally deciding to break through the soil. The universe has been waiting for this moment. It has been holding space for your yes. It has been preparing gifts you cannot yet imagine. And now, as you finally open your hands, as you finally soften your resistance, as you finally allow yourself to receive, the gifts begin to flow. Not all at once, not in the dramatic way you were taught to expect, but in small moments of synchronicity, in unexpected opportunities, in doors that open precisely when you need them, in resources that appear from sources you did not know existed, in people who arrive to support your expansion, in a growing sense that you are no longer fighting against the current but flowing with it. This is the beginning of prosperity, not the destination but the direction, not the arrival but the allowing, not the achievement but the alignment. You are learning to say yes to what has always been yes to you. You are learning to receive what the universe has been trying to give. You are learning that your expansion does not diminish anyone and your smallness serves no one. Your soul did not abandon you. It waited. It waited through every moment you turned away from your own good. It waited through every choice you made from fear instead of faith. It waited through every time you rejected yourself before the world could reject you. It waited because it knew that eventually, when you had tried everything else, when you had exhausted every strategy of smallness, you would finally remember. You would remember that you were never meant to beg for crumbs at a table where you were meant to feast. And now you remember. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Enough to notice when you are rejecting prosperity out of habit. Enough to catch yourself mid-apology and choose differently. Enough to feel the difference between the no that protects you and the no that keeps you small. Enough to take one step, and then another, toward the life that has been waiting for you to claim it. The universe wants to bring you prosperity. It has always wanted this. It wants it with the patience of mountains and the persistence of rivers and the generosity of sunlight that falls on everyone without asking if they deserve it. The question was never whether the universe is willing to give. The question is whether you are finally willing to receive. If these words touch something ancient in you, write, "I remember."